So the sports media landscape is going through a lot of major industry shifts right now. Money's being moved around. Very few players are rising to the top, guys like Stephen A. Smith, while there's going to be plenty of others falling to the wayside. But in this segment right here, through the Joey Taylor incident at FS1 with the extra out of work activities, I should say, it exposed a lot. And we're going to hear from an insider of what the first take kind of sports media coverage is really all about. There's a lot of fake personas and fragile egos, and how there's a very thin line between fandom and covering it live on television. You know, ever since the 2010s and the success of First Take, we've seen a lot of different personalities come in and out the door. And that's because in the media landscape, anyone who really wants to be a journalist or just kind of have that anchor role on television, the easiest way to get into that industry is through sports. And right now, sports is almost like the last relic of a bygone era where people tuned in all at the same time to watch something live. So that real estate is very important, as most of these leagues are trying to go global, while at the same time, people in the media industry are trying to get in. That's where you see the guys like Emmanuel Acho, who comes from that Oprah Winfrey tree, who was inserted to the position where he was at FS1. Because the backers behind them understand that inserting their own members into sports media is important real estate, as they could shape minds, especially as these leagues go global. But Marcellus Wiley gave great insight to what this industry is really all about. You guys check it out, and every once in a while, I'll check in.
What's crazy is how much politic and how much, like, people call it gossip, but it's not gossip. And you tell on yourself when you keep using the word gossip. If you've written these words lately, hater or gossip, you've been judged, at least by me, and you're dumb, or you're young, or you're just not enlightened. Everything we do in this industry is gossip. Everything. The only thing that is not is when you're literally watching a live game or a replay, and the person is literally saying, he is running stride for stride, first down. And none of us tune in for that. We're watching the game. We got multi-screen. We got 4x4 boxes, we got 6 games on at once. We're there to watch that. We take that in ourselves, the X's and O's. This industry is built off of the I's and U's, right? I and you. So no matter what show it is, First Take, Undisputed back then, Colin Cowherd, he is gossiping. He is talking about nouns, person, place, or thing. Something that happened, a thing, a person. That's why it's always about LeBron. That's why it's always about Dak. And what do you think they talking about? How many points he had? What's his PER? No, they talking about him.
And now we're seeing a fatigue of the whole LeBron GOAT talk. That's pretty much over. And the sports media landscape overall is going through a number of different fatigue stress factors coming from the supporters, the watchers, the so-called fans that they like to say. And if you relate it to real life, speaking to anyone 70 years and above, any type of elders, they'll tell you that they've seen everything come in cycles, some of them being lucky enough to live to see some cycles come through twice. Like, for example, a style could be baggy jeans or tight jeans. Or you could look at how sports is covered with the First Take culture, which really took off around the 2010s. And now we're about 15 years later, and networks are still trying to force those shows down our throat, but the audience is not as receptive. That's why we're seeing ESPN license a deal with Pat McAfee, Fox went after the guys at Barstool, even something as trivial as a late night show with Stephen Colbert, a show that was really successful, is now it almost looks as if it's antiquated. I don't remember the last time I ever tuned in into a late night show. Hell, with Stephen Colbert, it's rumored that the show was losing $40 million a year and had over 200 employees. When there's people getting way more views on him on a streaming platform or a platform even like YouTube, and it's probably 1 or 2 or even 5 people that's going through production. So things do come in cycles, even the hip hop industry with Drake, and now the audience has been receptive to someone else, like a guy like Kendrick Lamar, because he represents the opposite. The same thing happened in rock and roll. That's how Nirvana came up in the 90s, and so forth and so forth. All these things come in cycles, and right now in the sports media business, that First Take culture, the audience is pretty much fatigued.
So that's gossip. And it's not gossip, but people keep saying that. I'm like, everybody in this industry is doing the same shit different ways. The same stuff though. You get a story, you get a game, you get a story, you make up a storyline, you try to imagine and fascinate the crowd by saying this team is gonna do this or this team is gonna do that, and then you go there. That's all when I worked at Sports Nation, ESPN, Fox, FS1, ABC, that's all it is. Same here. This is nothing else. What I love about what I'm doing is because I'm still gonna talk about sports and games and media, but I'm gonna talk about the people who talk about it too. I think they need to be under fire, because if you notice, like Acho, he had to turn off his mentions and shit.
Once again, yo, Marcellus Wiley, I like where he's going at, because this is a brand new dynamic that even us as the audience, we could enjoy this. Guys like Stephen A. Smith, his foot being held to the fire on how he talks about some of these players on First Take. Marcellus Wiley is definitely onto something. But right here, he talks about Emmanuel Acho, a guy who had a stint in the NFL, wasn't really that long-lived. But the way he comes across to the audience is so fake, because in his world, he's trying to find the most viral takes. And that's how he interacts with sports. It's almost from an outrageous standpoint. And he's going to argue down those points in the same way a political pundit on CNN would argue for the Democratic or the Republican side. So we've seen a lot of this trickle down in the sports world because different factions within the media are trying to insert their own people into the sports world, because they understand the real estate that is going to serve in the future as the NBA, the MLB, the NFL branch out into being large global brands. So that's a dynamic that doesn't get talked about too much, that different fractions within the media that have their own groups, like the Oprah Winfrey fraction, inserted Emmanuel Acho into a very advantageous position. That's why I felt like he came out of nowhere, and just the way he interacts and just the way he talks about sports, that's why it seems so off.
If you can't take this heat, why are you giving them hot takes? See, I'm on both sides. I'm an athlete and I'm a personality. So I'm not gonna pick a side. I'm gonna represent both. Dudes be acting like busters. Like, you literally gave 20 minutes to kill Dak or Kevin Durant or LeBron, and then you can't let the crowd tell you, boo. You can't get booed, huh? Only cheered. That's silly. So that's why I do hydration situations. Simple as that. I do it because I want everybody to know we all gotta be accountable. Shoot. Because they be talking reckless and selfishly. Look, I am not holier than thou. I do it because I have 3 little kids. And let me tell you, I got 3 little studs. No one's as big and fast as my son. So what am I thinking? Well, whatever level this ends, whether it's high school, college, or pro, wherever this goes, I don't want people talking shit about my son just because it gets them money. Little busters. Oh, you gonna make a name off of my son? Like, I feel like LeBron. Like, Stephen A, what the fuck? You ain't gonna be talking about my son? Or I wasn't talking about your son, I was talking about you. I wasn't. Look.
At the end of the day, guys like Stephen A. Smith love to hide behind the journalism credentials or some sort of standards. They hide behind that, but that's not the business that they currently are in. They've now transitioned on into entertainers. If ESPN was about journalism, guys like Michael Wilbon and some of the older guys who've been around chronicling the NBA during their rise in the 90s, they would be front and center. But that's not what the business is about now. But they hide under the quote-unquote code of ethics of journalism. And keep listening, because Marcellus is going to get deep into what this industry is really about. Like I said before, there's a very thin line between fandom and how the hell they cover sports on First Take.
Cut the shit. I had to take that boy to every practice. I'm sitting there for 2-3 hours trying to look at this boy's footwork. I'm the one out here in the backyard sweating with this boy. And then you just gonna get up there and just start popping off because it's gonna get you some ratings and get you some love and some money. Okay. You try that way. I got another way. So I love hydration situation because I want these fools to beat. Every time I see they got a problem, oh yeah, well, I'm jumping right in the middle of it, refereeing it. Ding, 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 ding. I hear you, athlete. I'm an athlete. I hear you, broadcaster. I'm a broadcaster.
And that dynamic right there is going to change this whole First Take debate culture, this whole Skip Bayless culture, because now with them all being more online into the virtual world, there's a whole other section to this online metaverse that's almost its own genre where they critique other broadcasters.
Now I'm gonna use your words against you or for you. That's it. But this industry is suspect, man. Not everybody, just a lot of suspect stuff that's getting rewarded because incentives shape behavior. So I look at this situation simple. I'm gonna sum this up. So in summation, this lawsuit it was unnecessary. The lawsuits, the firings, unnecessary. To be real. But it is necessary because it was a lot of backstabbing, a lot of conniving behavior, a lot of advancements based off of things outside of your work merits. People were politicking and they started slapping hands. And it worked. Like anything, it worked from whatever, 2014, 2015, all the way to what we in 2025. Cats thought they got away with it. Cats thought they were in the clear. You know what I mean? I told them cats. And I got my friends used to always say, dog, you should be mad at these fools. You should be pissed at these fools. They fucked you, Wiley. They fucked you, homie. And I used to hear it. And then they would literally turn on me because I wasn't mad. Not because I knew this day would come. It's just because even if I am mad, I'm not winning that way. I don't want to get them. I want to get mine. You know what I mean? I don't want to pull them down. I want to come up. I don't want him to feel pain and problems. I just want to feel my own pleasures and my own things I work for, right? So that's why I never turned. That's why I could have lit everybody up in that building. Of course, I was in the building. And I don't know if y'all really know me, but I know everybody. Because I don't be having them hang-ups. I don't be acting too nerdy. I don't be acting too hard. I don't be acting too soft. I don't be acting too cool. I'm just me. And if you like it, you like it. If you don't, oh well, that's you. When I see you, I'm gonna say hi and we gonna chop it up, even if you pissed. Ask Ryan Clark. He's still walking around here huffing and puffing. He blocking people too. Another one. How you have all these hot takes and then you be blocking people everywhere?
That right there shows you how phony these people are. Spend all day criticizing, but as soon as people call you out on it or just try to debate you, it shows how phony the whole industry is. These guys are sensitive while at the same time they're on air criticizing everybody else. Ain't that a bitch?
Silly, right? Cats be doing that. So when I see you again, Ryan, I'm gonna say what's up. And I know you're gonna be huffing and puffing and acting like you in high altitude. Like, dog, stop. What you mad at? I thought you were winning. This is why I know cats are frauds. They ain't really winning. They just getting money. And I'm like, I've been getting money since 1997.
And that right there, him saying that, introduces a different dynamic we never thought about as the viewing audience of these shows. You see, even though Stephen A. Smith is the hot shot right now, I believe he's making over $20 million a year, some of the former athletes that are on these shows were making that type of money 10 years ago. So certain anchors today have an ego that other athletes are looking at them like, yeah, we achieved that more than a decade ago. And we were making plenty more money on the side. So that's a dynamic the viewing audience never really put out there in Front Street.
Trying to flex on me about some money. Fool, do you know how much money I done, you know the deals I done signed? That made me laugh, Stephen A. trying to come at me with that. I see these questions. Stephen A. try to tell me, oh, I think I won. I think I made it. In 2025? I'm old money compared to you then. You don't come around me talking about, don't flex on me what you up to, Wiley. You ain't got nothing going. Fool, I'm living off my retirement.
Now also when Marcellus Wiley is popping his collar right now, I feel you, brother. But when he said in 2025, it's like the way he said it. Because in his world, if he'd been on top of his A game as long as Stephen A. Smith has, he should have been the top paid dog all these years ago. Because First Take was a cultural trendsetter, I believe around the 2010s, the early 2010s at least. I mean, even Skip Bayless left and established a whole brand new show, and then he got let go, and then that's when Stephen A. Smith finally got paid the big bucks. So Very subtle shot from Marcellus Wiley.
I'm putting out videos on your head. As the kids say, I want the smoke. I do. I want the smoke because I want us all to breathe like it's normal. It ain't smoke. It's the truth. You can't be flexing on people. You can't be talking about LeBron. You can't be talking about KD, Kyrie. You can't be calling these people out and can't get called out. Who in the fuck do you think you are? Where are you from? Really must be Queens. Like literally Queens. He is raised by a lot of women. But
now I'm from NYC and I could say firsthand, something about a couple of sports members, particularly from Queens, around Queens Village, around the Cross Island Parkway. There's a couple of members in the sports media, and I noticed one trait about all of them. They tend to be haters. There's something brewing in the water over there by the Cross Island Expressway.
But Queens, like that's some Queens shit. And I ain't talking about Queens the city. I'm just talking about like, man, where you from that you can't take this? We touching you up. This football. Oh, it's a contact sport. So everybody out there, all you athletes, all you fans, viewers, touch these people up. They got it. They trying to rig it so they sacred cows. Oh, and if you talk about them, you jealous, you envious, you just at the crib doing nothing. You ain't got a job. Some people don't need a job.
Once again, there's a very thin line between fandom and what they're doing live on the air. And as time goes on, we're seeing it being proven. Once again, FS1, they hired the guys at Barstool. Also with ESPN, even after rejecting Pat McAfee when he tried to get into the building, he branched off and started his own show, and they end up striking a licensing deal with him to attract his audience. In a digital age where everything is moving so fast, a lot of these networks are moving like dinosaurs.
Partner. Some people already made what you making. Partner. You know what I mean? Like, if you want to play flex on flex, ooh, you late. I hate when somebody show up late to the party and act like the party just started. Fool, I've been here. You ever do that? Go to the club? I used to go to the club at 10:30. I go to the club at 10:30. Then everybody pop in like 12, 1 o'clock, and they acting like, oh, it's time to crack. I was like, yeah, I've seen every girl in here. I know emergency exit. I know every bartender name. Like, come on, man. And then they acting like, it's 2 o'clock. I'm like, I'm tired. I'm about to go home. Or I'll rock out with you. But the point is, don't act like the party start when you get there. Your ass is just late. Don't let nobody flex on y'all, dog. These people ain't winning. They just making more money. Trust me. Because if they were winning, they'd be happy. They'll take criticism.
Now, I had family members that worked at some of these sports networks. The pay is low compared to what the industry is. The pay is low for a lot of the behind the scenes people. And you'll be surprised, even the on-air anchors. Once again, the pay is low relatively to how much money the overall production in the industry is pulling in.
They'd be self-deprecating. They would be real personalities. Instead, they just fake ass personas. Real talk. So remember, don't use those two words. You know what those words are, right? Gossip and hater. They trapping y'all so that you can protect them. But if you notice, they get real quiet when they get under fire, right? I had allegations against me. I immediately did a video. Because if I'm gonna run and do a video against Dak or LeBron, you can't do one on you.
That was a very similar situation that played out with Shannon Sharp. He had nowhere to hide. He had to address the elephant in the room. You see, those old tactics used to work when they used to be only on the networks. But once they make the switch to streaming or just being on YouTube and being online, yeah, it's front facing, buddy. You got to show us your cards or like, well, what you thinking or where you at in this whole overall situation. Joey Taylor, in a way, is the only person with real balls out of all the fellas in the sports media. She tackled her shit head on.
Your name in the news, partner. But not them. You know what they do? All of a sudden, they socials get quiet. They take off the comments. Oh, the scary comment from someone I don't know who's judging me. Oh, my frail ego. If y'all don't call these people out, trust me, they ain't calling you. They not calling your house. They not calling your cell, so you better call them out. Sit your ass down, right? So the point is, I'm not about to get 50 years old and then listen to some grown man trying to tell me I'm less than him or different than him. Nah, fool. We doing the same thing differently. As they say, you're uniquely the same. So don't let nobody flex on y'all. They be trying to punk the whole crowd. Oh, you don't know anything. That's why my other show, On the Rocks, is just me and my friends. Y'all can come on the show. I don't give a fuck. Just can't come to my house, so I got to figure this out. But we're going to have a public place. I like listening to people because cats be knowing shit that I don't know. But, oh, no, you're not in the media, so what's your opinion? Man, if you don't get off your high horse, chop you down. Chop them down. Because of where I played football. If you chop me down, that means I got to work on my technique. Y'all know what the chop block is? Oh, yeah, somebody coming from the knees, you got to do this. Yeah. All you got to do is, hold on. Did y'all see that muscle come out? Shit. Yes, still got it. Okay. Wow. All you got to do is this. But you got to be alert. You got to be aware. You got to be agile. AAA, baby. Alert, aware, agile. But they don't want that. They don't want you chopping them. That's wrong. That's wrong. Nah, you just ain't alert. You just ain't agile. You just ain't got the ability. No sacred cows. Nope. That's why I like Nick Wright. Nick Wright is, especially this year, he turned that corner. He's always been good to me. I love Nick Wright, but I like how he's now calling people out. He like, dog. I mean, because why would I watch you and all you're doing is protecting your friends and your circle and everyone at the desk, and then everybody else get hell?
Once again, that's the trickle down from that atmosphere, the political anchors on CNN. They're protecting their clique, and a lot of the entities within the media that some of these personalities fall under are placing them within the sports world, and they're bringing that same energy, that same aura into sports, but it doesn't work because in sports, there's winners and losers. That's why since the 2010s, you hear a lot of anchors all of a sudden, even after their favorite player loses, they go on this diatribe about, oh, you know, but what if this happened? And oh yeah, they had an injury, and you're hearing all these excuses. This is where this culture comes from.
Devin Booker doesn't deserve that money. What if Devin Booker won? What if you won, motherfucker? Oh, hey, that's not my job. Okay, well then you better show some respect in how I do my job. Real spit. We go an hour and then we done. I'm gonna get off. I'm on my horse right now. Fuck that. Black Stallion. You know what I'm saying? But look, y'all, we letting these fools get away with this. And for those who think I'm acting brand new, oh, wow, you only saying that now because you ain't there. Watch the tape. I literally was on NFL Live in 07. My boss came to me 2 weeks later and said, you ain't gonna be on this show long. And I thought I was fired already. He said, and that's good. He said, you don't care about no football, no pure sports. He said, you just wanna go up there and talk about people. He said, you just wanna go up there and talk about events, nouns, person, place, things. He was like, you're gonna do personality shows. They ain't even have Sports Nation in. He said, we'll figure this out. He said, but for right now, when Peyton Manning's on the goal line, can you kind of talk about what he's doing instead of like, man, Peyton Manning's so cool. Let me tell you about
That right there sounds like the early 2000s when digital cable started coming around and networks needed a lot of fill-in airtime in between live sports broadcasts. That's when you started to see the sports nations on ESPN and ESPN2 and the PTIs, and you started to see those kind of shows pop up out of nowhere because there was just so much fill-in time.
They be on there talking third and long, fourth and goal, and I'll be like, man, last time I was out, that's 07. I done had dust-ups with everybody in this industry before.
You know what, the sports networks, they fell for the same trap the cable networks had fell for. Networks like MTV and VH1 with the quick, cheap programming. And for those networks, the cheap program was reality TV. That's when you start to see them air a lot less music videos and more Bad Girls Club and all these ratchet shows where these girls are fighting with BBLs and all kinds of crazy shit. But in regards to the sports world, their version of reality TV was the First Takes and Undisputeds. Those shows are a lot cheaper to produce, and in a way, it provides an unlimited amount of content. And a lot of those clips can also go viral. So they kind of fell for the okie doke. But once again, things go in cycles, and now the audience is fatigued of those kinds of shows. And just like MTV and VH1 with reality TV, they had no plan B to go to. And so now FS1 and ESPN, outside of the First Take debating type of shows, there is no plan B. They're struggling to find that niche in a landscape where the technology has evolved and there's a lot more personalities on different platforms. while at the same time ESPN is trying to compete and they're going to launch their own streaming network. So don't be shocked if you see Shannon Sharp make his return to ESPN because they need his audience.
I don't care. I think it's, and I don't like this whole in public you clown me, in public we got smoke, and then we're gonna have this private conversation. No, we ain't. We're gonna have the public one. We're gonna have the same convo we had in the same place we had to fight. Let everybody hear you. Bow down. I want everybody to hear your BS. Not you call me. Cats be calling me. They know I don't pick up either. I got like 3 cats on air right now. Call me. I was like, what? I was like, man, you not to say that. I was like, you not to say what you said. I said, I use your words. You didn't like them? Man, what's up with you? What's up with you? You good? Man, this is why I don't pick up the phone. What you mean? I got kids. Are you one of them? No. Why am I talking to you then? This hurt your feelings? Grow up. You think you don't hurt LeBron's feelings? Oh, he can handle it. Well, then you handle it, fool. I could talk circles around them. They so stupid. I'm like, what school did you go to? Are you good? Did I call you for help?
Yo, how you call somebody and say, are you good? That's crazy. That's crazy right there. Damn, you would think maybe they want a relationship. Like, come on, man, what you doing?
Well, then I'm good. I know what these kids' test scores were. Grown-ass men. I'm like, dog, what? And literally trying to like manipulate minds. They got little kids. I remember one of the stories of why I really was going independent and really like, I'm gonna really do it, is because I was coaching my football team, and this is when the Rams won the Super Bowl. So I'm in LA and the Rams are winning the Super Bowl, and these kids love Cooper Kupp. You couldn't tell them nothing. Jerry Rice, who? Cooper Kupp. Every kid on my team, who's your favorite player in the league? Cooper Kupp, Cooper Kupp, Cooper Kupp. Remember that year? So I'm like, all right, that's love. I go to work one day, and on the itinerary, on the agenda, or rundown, damn, it's been a while, I don't even know the damn term. Rundown is like Cooper Kupp, but they want to kill Cooper Kupp, or they want somebody to kill him, right? Acho got to say good, or Acho got to say bad, and you got to say the opposite, or something like that. And I'm sitting there, I remember sitting there, I was like, what? I just left the place where they were worshiping at the altar of Cooper Kupp, and we about to just make up some argument against him so we could get some damn engagement?
Because that's what it's all about now. Once again, the political debate atmosphere from politics, that toxic environment has trickled down into sports because the money is running out on that side post-election. And they're slowly trying to implement their people into the sports world. But now the sports world is based off of what you can bring in. See, the on-air personalities like Shannon Sharp, Stephen A. Smith, Pat McAfee, also the guys at Barstool, the reason why they're getting the larger deals is because they actually bring an audience to the networks. And that's a good thing. Hopefully we don't get no more industry plants like Emmanuel Acho from the Oprah Winfrey camp.
Backstabbing people, backstabbing me, just to get their elevation. Okay. And I know how much they all make. They're calling me, trying to front, floss. I know how much they all make. I said, you sold yourself for that? Very few of them people make over $2 million, and I know that's a lot of money. Very few make over $1 million.
Now that right there is the scariest part. Wow, very few makes over $1 million. We're talking about covering all NBA season, all NFL season, and they work for a large network like ESPN that has cable deals, that shell out all that money for NBA, NFL coverage. They have a relationship with advertisers, and they're the only industry in media when they go live, they actually get ratings. They're the last of a dying dinosaur. So money's coming in, but very few anchor members, because we got to put this into proper perspective. $1 million is a lot of money, but for the industry that they're in, the way their work-life balance is kind of mixed in, for very few on-air personalities to make over $1 million, that's unbelievable. ESPN was paying anchors back in the 90s and 80s more money than that. And they did way less work, and they didn't have to be on air as often.
You doing all that hooping and hollering, clowning, changing your personality, ego, never at home, ain't raising no family, for a few $100,000, you're gonna wake up one day and be like, damn, was it worth it? Let me answer that right now. Hell no. No, dummy. No, it wasn't worth it, but to each his own.
So there you have it. Great insight from Marcellus Wiley. And when it comes to Adam Silver, he may have to reconsider and re-examine the way ESPN is interacting with the NBA. They're now doing full intros for Stephen A. Smith during the games as if he's a player entering the arena. So they're more invested into introducing their own personalities within the NBA. And the storytelling is poor. The way the last two NBA finals were covered was a little bit iffy. 2024, during the Celtics and Mavericks series, they spent the whole time talking about the Lakers hiring JJ Redick. And in the 2025 finals, it was even worse. There was no backstory. The production was very vanilla. It was very Wonder Breadish. Nobody gets excited for Wonder Bread. So outside of the TV deal and the money that was exchanged from that, Adam Silver is going to have to re-examine the way ESPN is interacting with the NBA. They're not necessarily growing the game. And next NBA season, they're going to have some competition because NBC is going to put on a master class and show ESPN how to properly broadcast the NBA and introduce an audience who may be not too familiar with the league and make them actually interested in the game that's going to be telecast through a lot of storytelling. They're really great at this. And matter of fact, we're going to hear from the woman that's actually responsible for this type of coverage. And we've seen so far with some of the recruitments that they've made to join their cast, Michael Jordan, guys like Carmelo Anthony, they're going to swing big, and ESPN will look foolish if they put on another bland production for the finals next season. When you guys meet Jennifer Storms, she's the head honcho, the chief marketer at NBC. This is the woman that's going to have ESPN step up their telecast of the NBA next season.
So excited, right now getting close to the season start. Obviously, we have another year, but it's an opportunity for us to spend the year really working closely with the National Basketball Association and learning. This is a great new audience to bring to our platform. Our platforms and the ability for us to bring it to life. We make big events bigger, and we have such success with so many other platforms, whether they're sports or entertainment content on NBC, Peacock, any of the cable networks, Telemundo. So it's going to be a great opportunity for us. And I think this long runway of pre-planning really is going to give us an opportunity to make this something very incredible and special. And we've already started promotion. So we started promotion actually in the Olympics with a great bespoke piece of content that was signaling to the NBA on NBC Legacy and Round Ball Rock, which we're so known for. So having that foundation and that incredible legacy is just going to behoove us and make it that much better when we walk into this, a year from now.
And make no mistake about it, NBC already had a successful blueprint on how to market NBA games. You could go ahead and do the Google searches, hit up ChatGPT, whatever you use. Just look at the way NBC used to introduce the games in the past. As an audience member, you don't even have to even know what happened previously. They marketed the game in a way where they did great storytelling, and it's almost like there was a hero and a villain. They do a great job of presenting the storyline in a way where you're looking for the triumphant moment. And at the end, they tell you, hey, it's coming up next. Once again, you guys could research it. You could put in the search box NBA on NBC intro, and you'll see a ton of them. And just look at the way they present the storyline. I'll include one of the links in the description below for you guys to check it out directly. But they do a great job of the storytelling. And that's something that ESPN is completely lacking. That's why the NBA Finals this year felt completely bland. It was like having chicken with no seasoning, boiled. It had nothing to do with Doris Burke, really. It was just the overall presentation was pretty bland. It was like seeing a 99-cent Wonder Bread. But hey, it is what it is. The media landscape is definitely being shaken up.